Welcome, Waceke.
All right. Thank you so much, Gladys. Thank you, Rosalind. Thank you, John, for having me back again for this webinar. Thank you, Patricia, for the amazing presentation and for laying the foundation so well for this discussion. I don't even know what I need to add to your presentation, but I think I'll just give you some insights about where I am. We first had the first webinar with COVID. I'm one of those people Patricia was talking about. When I heard there's a COVID case in Kenya, I was in the supermarket buying toilet paper, and I do not know why I was buying toilet paper. And I write articles in the paper, and remember my editor telling me, in 2 days, can you write about how people should deal with COVID with their finances? And I was like, whoa. Even me, I need time to absorb what this actually means. But I guess I also believe sometimes when things happen, it is obvious we're in a stage that the cases are rising. When we first had the webinar, we had thought by this time we would have been talking about end of COVID, yeah? So, but now we are in this, and it's not just how to wait for COVID to end. It's while we are in it, what do we do? But also to start questioning on a business level, because for sure in some form or way for every one of us, life is not going to be the same. So there's a dance we have to understand what we did wrong in the past. Whenever we've been talking through Centonomy to people about personal finance, the things that we've known, emergency funds, savings, dealing with debt, we had been told those things, yeah? But now we've got to do things differently. And I remember when I started Centonomy, I was at the brokest point in my life. I learned about money because of lunch money, 300 shillings. The day I did not have money at all, yeah, because it's when you don't have money like now, COVID, that we go back and understand, what did I do with yesterday? I did calculations, 300 shillings. Times 30 is 9,000 bob. That was 300 bob I was spending on 8,000 shillings. And when you look, what am I doing every day? Little things. And I started this business. Centonomy has now been around for 11 years. So I'm going through COVID, not only as an individual, like this business at the time I was most broke. So look at the irony of this. I'm facing my 300 bob situations. I'm trying to get, the ATM is even laughing at me for trying to withdraw money, yeah? And I'm going and teaching people about financial planning. So when crises like this happen, I also ask you, look back on your life and see how you got through the last crisis. Because all of us here, crisis has showed up in some way or form, but many times we forget the lesson. And mine was that the fact I was so scared customers will start asking what folio size. Folio size is the has refused to give me, yeah? That sometimes you have to deal with your situation, deal with the fact that you're looking at your car and you're hoping that E will still get you 2 kilometers down the road to go meet your client, but you have a vision. So we're in this space, yeah, because we've also got to respond to what is the new thing that has to happen, where we do have to manage what is in front of us. We do have to survive, but our heads cannot stay there. Because if we allow our minds just to stay there, we're going to get stuck. We'll keep going round in a circle. So let's talk about what we have to do, but let's also understand that we need to think ahead. Your vision should not have died because of COVID. Your goals may change when you do them, how you do them, but goals should still be part of this. And to be able to do this dance, let's first talk about the reality. The reality is, how do I just handle life? Yeah. And life is my expenses. Before COVID, when we were comfortable, we were earning salaries the way we were earning salaries, our businesses were generating the income. A lot of us were spending without any awareness. Yes, we've always told to do a budget. I don't think anybody listening to this conversation knows that a budget is, that they've never had the word budget before. We've always understood that we should do a budget, but we don't do it. And many times people don't do budgets because they think it will restrict them. It will mean lack of enjoyment of life, yeah? But this is what a budget actually is. And if you look at the slide in front of you, I have just categorized expenses into A, B, C, yeah? So take picture of this to do. What is in typical life, your A would be things like food, water, rent, the things you need to survive, yeah? Your B's are, and those are what we call essential expenses. Your B's are important, but you will not die with them. And for be enjoying the use of a car, but if you're honest with yourself in this time, maybe that's not important. A lot of us who are at home are realizing that car has been parked you don't actually need it. Our grooming ourselves, our bees were going to the gym is to stretch chilling. So some of your food, milk, bread, may be A, but some of your food is not A. You know, sausages, yes, we like them, yeah, but they may not be the most essential thing at this time. And then, of course, you've got your C expenses. And these are your subscriptions, you're going out, you're ordering in. And over the work I've done with people, this is where we are addicted. Our C expenses, because we get it. I look good at a certain place. Is also an identity reset with our money. We've got to understand sometimes when we are struggling, did we make appearance and image become who we think we are? Because even as I talk to people, it's not just about that I have to make adjustments. It's, oh, what will people think if I can't do this? What will people think if I can't afford this? What will my child think if I can't take them to that school? Even we took a lot of people were taking their kids to very expensive schools. A lot of people were also funding that school via debt. But now when they sit down, when they've gotten time in their houses to evaluate, they were taking kids to that school because it looked good. That is what they were expected to do. So go back and sit with yourself and have a very honest discussion and just leave the noise and say, if it wasn't about what other people think, what is my A, what is my B, what is my C? Ask yourself, if your income has not been affected, maybe you can afford the A, B, C lifestyle. But even if your income has not been affected, you've all had that the cases are rising. For how long can you continue on A plus B plus C sustainably? So even if your income has not been affected and you're still doing everything you were doing before, ask yourself, but what if my income is interrupted, yeah? So figure out what you need to do for your A. And this is when you talk about savings, what your savings should first do is be able to sort out your A expenses for as long as possible. If you look at the bottom of that slide, if I spend all my money, if I have for example, if I have A plus B plus C is 100,000 shillings, and I spend 100,000 shillings, I'm only giving myself 1 month to survive. But if I say my essentials are 30,000 shillings, if something has happened to my income, it has now given me 3 months to survive. In 3 months, I can log on to the kind of webinars we're having today, the kind of discussions we're having today, learn a new skill, and figure out what is my immediate way of getting income. So even those who have lost, if you've lost your job, don't think about your past salary as what you have to replace. You were earning 200,000 shillings. You were earning 100,000 shillings. Where we go wrong is if another opportunity comes your way, if it's not giving you 100,000 shillings, you don't take the job. Because the way we were living is if I earned 100,000 shillings, my next job should be paying me 150,000 shillings. I'm sorry, life has changed. Now you're looking at, if my A's are 30,000 shillings, what can I do from my home as a home business to earn 30,000 shillings? If another opportunity, part-time role comes and they're giving me 30,000 shillings, you start actually taking it, yeah? And I want to have another conversation here to us as consumers. COVID has made us realize we are all connected. So as you go out and you're making decisions in the supermarket, we are all connected. I think this has given me such a heightened awareness of the relationship between us as individuals and the economy. When you go to a supermarket and you look at toothpicks, one from China and one from Kenya, and you buy the Chinese toothpick, you are supporting the Chinese economy. But when you go and choose to buy the Kenyan toothpick, you are supporting the Kenyan economy, which in a roundabout way comes back to you and your source of income and your ability to keep your job. So even us as consumers, let us be, even as we're going and having to spend money, let us start being conscious about, can I buy local? I think the bank will agree with me here. It's not about you. Yeah, so what you do is not just about you. Raphael has the macroeconomic position on this. It's not just about you. So the collective decisions we are making as consumers are coming back and affecting us. Because if I don't support the Kenyan toothpick maker, he doesn't pay employees. They then don't come to my business. They don't spend it. We are all very, very, very connected. But this slide is the first thing to start asking you. Go and sit as a family and say, given where we are now, what is A, what is B, what is C? Remember, it doesn't mean, even if you have to cut back on things that you love, it's not the situation forever, yeah? This is what we have to do to give ourselves the most time to be able to understand, what does this mean? How do we restructure ourselves? So if you can just move to the next slide.
Waceke?
Yeah?
Before we move on to the next slide, a lot of people either laid off or have had their salaries reduced. What advice would you have for the people that have been impacted that way? Either they've been laid off or they've had salaries reduced in terms of prioritizing their expenses.
Okay. So first of all, go back to what do you have? And I think Patricia was asking about that. What assets do you have? Yeah. So if you have, so first go do that balance sheet. Yeah. These are all my assets. So do I have savings in the bank account? Do I have insurance on some point? Do I have pension? Do I have a piece of land? Do I have shares on the stock market? And I think a lot of the time when we work with people have forgotten what they have. Do I have money in the chama? Do I have stocks I bought in an IPO at some place and I forgot about them? What do I have? Yeah. Then understand, if my A is this amount of money, I could have things like money in the circle. Hopefully you have what is some that are liquid. So the first thing is you have to survive. You have to put food on the table. Yeah. Which ones, out of all those things that I have, which ones can I use for a couple of my months so that my essential expenses are covered? This is not the time to spend a lot of money in the salon. This is the time to re-engineer. If you have to homeschool, be honest with yourself and do that. Homeschool if you have to, yeah? So then first say, what do I survive? But as I said before, COVID is not about us stopping there. Then start to ask yourself. And in the book I wrote a book and I talk a lot about non-financial assets that people underestimate so much. Because this time, a lot of people may be finding themselves, I don't have money to do typical investments like go buy land or go buy shares, but hey, I'm a creative. I can write, I can cook. And these are the things people have. I'm very good advising people on this and that. My friends come to me and I seem to be able to help them resolve their problems. I want people to look at what these non-financial assets are. These are your skills. And some of them, it doesn't necessarily mean qualifications, yeah? And start to ask yourself, what is happening out there and what do I do with it? I have a friend who was affected by COVID, but she's always been a great cook. And she realized people are not going to go out a lot, but being home with the kids, sometimes without house help, every so often people will want a home cooked meal. I can do home cooked meals and get it delivered to people. And that is how she's making income. So Gladys, I also think it's a time for us to yes, you might have been the head of marketing for Sub-Saharan Africa somewhere, but you can also cook. Please don't start seeing it as a downgrade, because a lot of people, because of status, they're like, no, but I was head of marketing. How can I now be home delivery meal person? And I think that's where we have a mind block. So figure out your expenses if you've lost your job, but very quickly start thinking, what do I have? What can I do? And what are the opportunities that I can respond to? Because, right, opportunities are going to look differently, but I think opportunities are there. Yeah. There's someone else I know, kids are at home. They're about to go on holiday. What extracurricular activities, even if it's online, can I help and offer kids? So it's just time for people to really think outside the box.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Waceke.
All right. So let me just wrap up with that last slide of where we are going with the conversation. Yeah.
Yes. Go ahead.
So just so that we know the rat race, what the rat race looked like, and as we have this conversation, and as we take our lessons from COVID, this is what we're trying to get out of. This is where we were, guys. Whether we even without COVID, we were working harder, we earned more money, we bought more things with that money, which made us keep going and work harder to earn more money, to buy more things, to keep going. Yeah. So we were in this cycle that, in my opinion, it had to be broken. So over time, and everybody listening here, have you earned more money over the last 5 years? Are you wealthier? For many of us, Gladys, the answer is no. Yeah, because we work harder, we earn more money, then we buy more things. Our businesses expenses go up. Yeah. So what do we convince ourselves? That we need more money. So work harder, earn money, buy more things, keep going. So if we don't get out of this belief that it is always more money that is going to solve the problem, even if COVID ended today and restarted again a year after, we will find ourselves back having this. Even if I work, even if I'm earning my 30,000 shillings, what am I doing with it? And in Centonomy, we like saying, you've got to start understanding which factory are you building. Because when we're in this rat race, we are building everybody's factory apart from us. We are fueling our cars, so we are always building a factory. Or as I'm sure I showed up in the morning wearing clothes. That means we are always part of building someone's factory. But the point we always forget is, what about your factory? When you're in this rat race, work harder to earn more money, to build other people's factory all the time. And then when I hit retirement age, I realized I spent 8 to 5 every day for 40 years, but I have nothing to show for it. And that what COVID didn't allow us to do in retirement age, it stopped. All of us, it stopped. Even myself, business income affected, personal income affected, it stopped, yeah? So it has made us asking, so all that time, what was I doing it for? If I found myself even without an emergency fund, what was I working for? If I found myself without a replace income that can come. So this is where we have to go, no matter what we call it, yeah? Assets, liabilities, net worth, expenses, managing budget, no matter what we call it, this is where we have to go. We have to move from the cycle of working harder to earn money, to keep buying other people's things, to having assets that give you income that can sustain your expenses. So the biggest thing for me, the biggest lesson for COVID has been cash flow. Yeah. Where does your people who had one source of cash flow, it was affected because they didn't use that cash flow to buy assets. Like, for example, if you had an apartment giving you rent, then at least you can have rent. If you have a chicken business giving you money, you have some sort of income. If you do right on the weekends and get paid 5,000 bob, that's other sources of income. So where we all have to go is understanding that life is not sustainable on one source of income. It is not, your financial freedom is not your employer's responsibility. It is yours. Your employer is experienced and a good source of cash flow. If you still have a job, please start using that cash flow to generate other things that can give you cash flow. If you don't, what you've been put in is like a furnace. It's very hot, yeah? But it's hot so that you can get results faster. Start understanding, what do I do to generate cash flow? Because all of us have to move to multiple sources of income, because even as human beings, you are not built to be one-dimensional. You are built to be multi-dimensional. So yes, your job is one, But what else can you do? Your chama is one. Get your chama working properly. This thing of a chama where we just go and sit around to discuss nothing, that's not a chama, that's social business. Then call it what it is, social. We meet for social purposes, yeah? But if your chama started out for investment, get it right. Reorganize your chama so that it has a long-term goal and money for you guys. So we really, really just have to move from that thinking of, that will sort my finances out, I'll get a big deal, and my employer is consistently the worst person in the universe. No. Yeah. So let's stop, let's get out, let's use this COVID to get out of the rat race. Let's learn something different. Let's also, in this period, I've learned, please stop having the poverty support group conversation. Yes, it's a bad season, it's hard, everybody is struggling, but this meeting to see, talk about how the economy is bad, it helps, yeah? So if you are in a poverty support group at the moment, please exit. If you are chair of the poverty support group, please resign from it. And it's time for us to start having that kind of to act to